Nintendo is a giant in video games today. Many people know the Nintendo Switch or the Wii. But before these famous systems, Nintendo made other things. They made playing cards and toys for many years. Their journey into electronic games was a big step. This step was very important for the company. It set the stage for later success. Very few people know about these early machines. This story tells about Nintendo's first video game consoles. These consoles were the beginning of a new chapter for the company. In the 1970s, video games were new and exciting. Arcades had games like Pong. Home video games were just starting to appear. Nintendo saw an opportunity in this growing market. They decided to make their own home game systems. This was a bold move for a company known for other products. It was a risk, but it was also a chance to grow. These first consoles were only sold in Japan. They are a forgotten part of Nintendo's history. Understanding these early efforts helps us appreciate Nintendo's long journey. The first series of consoles was called Color TV Game. This name is very simple and describes what they did. They connected to a television and showed games in color. This was a big deal at the time. Most homes had black and white televisions still. These early machines were not like the consoles we know today. They did not use cartridges to change games. The games were built directly into the console hardware. This was common for early home video game systems. These dedicated consoles offered a specific set of experiences. These color TV game consoles are very important. They show Nintendo learning about game design. They also show Nintendo learning about hardware. The company experimented with different ideas. They tried different types of games and controllers. Each console in the series was a step forward. They learned from their successes and their mistakes. These lessons helped Nintendo create future hits. The story of these forgotten consoles is fascinating for any game fan. It reveals the roots of a gaming legend. Nintendo's very first home video game console was the Color TV Game 6. It came out in Japan in the year 1977. This was a very exciting time for home entertainment. The console had a very distinctive look. Its outer casing was a bright orange color. This made it look more like a toy than a serious electronic device. This design choice was likely intentional. It helped the console appeal to families and younger players. The controls were simple knobs built directly onto the console itself, making it self-contained. The Color TV Game 6 offered 6 different games. However, these 6 games were all variations of the popular game Pong. Pong was a simple tennis-like game that was a huge hit in arcades, so Nintendo's first console offered different ways to play this basic idea. Players could choose versions like Tennis A, Tennis B, Hockey A, Hockey B, Volleyball, and Ping Pong. While the name suggested variety, the gameplay was quite similar across all of them. The controls were known to be a bit stiff. Sometimes the games had a few more bugs than their arcade counterparts, which was common for early home systems. One of the most important features of the Color TV Game 6 was its price. It was sold for 9,800 yen. This was about $35 in United States currency back in 1977. When we adjust for inflation over the years, that is like $185 today. This price point was very competitive. Other companies like Tommy and Bandai also sold home game systems. Their systems, such as TV Fun and TV Jack, were often more expensive. Nintendo's lower price helped them attract many customers. It made home video gaming more accessible to more families in Japan. Despite its simplicity and limitations, the Color TV Game 6 was a success for Nintendo. The company managed to sell around 350,000 units of this first console. This was a good number for a new product in a new market. It showed Nintendo that there was real demand for home video games. This success encouraged Nintendo to continue exploring this area. The Color TV Game 6 was the first small step. It was the beginning of Nintendo's long journey in the video game console business. It proved that Nintendo could design and sell electronic gaming hardware effectively. Hot on the heels of their first console, Nintendo quickly released another. Just 1 week after the Color TV Game 6, the Color TV Game 15 arrived. This new console showed Nintendo was learning fast. It aimed to offer more value and an improved experience. The Color TV Game 15 also came out in 1977. It represented a significant upgrade from its predecessor. Nintendo wanted to capture even more of the growing home video game market. This quick follow-up demonstrated their ambition in this new field. and their ability to iterate rapidly on their designs. As its name suggests, the Color TV Game 15 included 15 games. Like the Color TV Game 6, these games were still variations of Pong. However, there was more variety in these 15 versions. The games offered different rules, speeds, and layouts. This made the console feel much more versatile. Players had more options to choose from. This increased the replay value of the system. Nintendo was clearly listening to feedback and trying to provide a richer gaming experience. The greater number of games made it more appealing to a broader audience looking for entertainment. The Color TV Game 15 also had some important design changes. Instead of the bright orange of the CTG6, this model had a white shell. This gave it a slightly more sophisticated look. A very important improvement was the controllers. The Color TV Game 15 featured two separate controllers. These controllers were hardwired to the console with cables. This allowed players to sit more comfortably away from the console. This design of attached controllers would later be used for the Famicom, Nintendo's next major console. This was a key innovation for usability and player comfort. The Color TV Game 15 was priced a bit higher than the CTG6. It cost 15,000 yen, which was about $55 in 1977. Today, that would be around $291. Even with the higher price, it was a huge success. Nintendo sold over 1 million units of the Color TV Game 15. This was a massive achievement for the company. It firmly established Nintendo as a serious player in the home console market in Japan. The combination of more games and better controllers proved to be a winning formula for it. This success provided resources and confidence for future, more ambitious projects. After several Pong-based systems, Nintendo took a different direction. In 1980, they released the computer TV game. This was the final console in the Color TV game series. It marked a significant departure from the earlier models. The design was quite different. It had a bulky white shell. This was a move away from the toy-like appearance of the Color TV Game 6. The console looked more like a serious piece of electronics. This aesthetic would later influence the design of the Famicom and the Nintendo Entertainment System, NES, showing an evolution in Nintendo's design language. The most remarkable thing about the computer TV game was its game. It only featured one game. A port of Nintendo's own arcade game was an electronic version of the classic board game, Othello. Releasing a console with only one game, and a board game at that, was unusual. However, this port was arcade perfect. This means it played exactly like the version found in arcades. At the time, most home console ports of arcade games were much simpler or inferior due to hardware limitations. This was a big technical achievement for Nintendo. How did Nintendo achieve an arcade-perfect port? They did it by including the same arcade board from the cabinets inside the console. This made the computer TV game quite powerful for its time, at least for this specific task. The game itself was not extremely hardware-intensive. This made it feasible to include the original board. The console featured a multi-button layout directly on the console unit for two players to use. This was different from the detachable controllers of the Color TV Game 15, making it a self-contained unit for Othello play. Despite its technical achievement, the computer TV game had a limited release. This was due to several factors. The hardware, while powerful for its specific game, was specialized. The game Othello also had a somewhat limited appeal compared to action games. By 1980, the popularity of dedicated Pong-style consoles and even the Color TV game series itself was declining. However, the computer TV game is considered one of Nintendo's most important early consoles. It showed Nintendo's focus on bringing original games and arcade-quality experiences home. This became a core part of their future philosophy. Section 5, Shifting Gears. Color TV Game Racing 112. In 1978, Nintendo released its third console, the Color TV Game Racing 112. This console showed Nintendo trying to diversify its offerings. Instead of another Pong-style machine, this was a dedicated racing game console. It was a bold step into a different genre. Racing games were popular in arcades, and Nintendo wanted to bring that excitement home. This console was quite large compared to the earlier Color TV game models. Its design was focused entirely on the driving experience. It clearly targeted fans of racing games and aimed to provide a more specialized form of entertainment. The Color TV game Racing 112 had unique controls. It featured a realistic-looking steering wheel and a gear stick. These were built directly into the console unit. This provided a more immersive driving experience than simple knobs or joysticks. For multiplayer modes, there were also two smaller paddle controllers. These allowed a second player to control their car. The inclusion of a steering wheel was a significant feature. It helped the console stand out from other game systems available at the time. It made the game feel more like an arcade racer, enhancing the player's engagement. The console included one built-in game. This game was a top-down racing game. It was very similar to Taito's popular arcade game. While it was essentially a knockoff, Nintendo added its own touches. The 112 in the console's name referred to the number of gameplay variations available. Players could adjust many settings. These included the speed of their car, the driving style of computer-controlled enemy cars, the size of the race course, and other difficulty tweaks. This offered a lot of replayability from a single core game concept, a clever way to extend value. The Color TV game Racing 112 provided a specialized gaming experience. It was different from the general-purpose consoles that were starting to appear. Its focus on a single genre, racing, meant it appealed to a specific audience. While not as broadly successful as the Color TV game 15, it was an important product for Nintendo. It showed their willingness to experiment with different hardware designs and game types. It also demonstrated their ability to create engaging gameplay variations. This console contributed to Nintendo's growing expertise in game development and hardware innovation, pushing their boundaries. Section 6. Breaking new ground Color TV game Block Kuzushi. Nintendo released the Color TV game Block Kuzushi in 1979. This console marked another interesting point in the series' evolution. Block Kuzushi is the Japanese name for the game Breakout. Breakout was a very popular arcade game created by Atari. In this game, players control a paddle to bounce a ball. The ball breaks blocks at the top of the screen. So this Nintendo console was dedicated to playing variations of Breakout. It showed Nintendo continuing to draw inspiration from successful arcade hits of the era, a common practice for many companies at the time. The design of the Color TV game Block Kuzushi was a return to simplicity. It was somewhat similar in spirit to the original Color TV game 6. The console itself was compact and had a distinct look. One notable feature was that it was the first single-player-only system in the Color TV game series. This was a departure from the previous consoles, which all supported two players. The controls were also simplified. It abandoned individual wired controllers. Instead, it had a single movement knob built directly onto the console unit for controlling the paddle, focusing on individual play. The Color TV game Block Kuzushi included 6 built-in games. As expected, all of these games were knockoffs of Breakout. However, Nintendo didn't just create simple copies. They showcased their early talent for innovation. The different game modes offered unique twists on the original Breakout formula. There were variations with different block arrangements, ball speeds, and special features. These tweaks significantly transformed the original game. This demonstrated Nintendo's growing understanding of game design and how to make familiar concepts feel fresh and engaging to players. This console was also notable for another reason. It was one of the first projects where Shigeru Miyamoto, the legendary Nintendo game designer, was involved. While his role was primarily in designing the outer casing of the console, it marks an early point in his career at Nintendo. The Color TV game Block Kuzushi, with its focused gameplay and creative variations, was a modest success. It continued to build Nintendo's reputation in the Japanese home game market. It also highlighted their ability to iterate on existing game ideas and add their own creative flair, a skill that would become a hallmark of Nintendo. Section 7. The competitive landscape standing out in a crowded market. Nintendo's Color TV game series did not exist in a vacuum. The 1970s saw the birth of the home video game industry, and it was a competitive space. Many companies were trying to get a piece of this new market. When Nintendo launched the Color TV game 6 in 1977, they faced competition from established toy companies. Companies like Tomy with its TV Fun series and Bandai with its TV Jack line were already selling similar Pong-style consoles in Japan. These competitors often had strong brand recognition. Nintendo needed a way to stand out and attract customers to their new products. Nintendo's initial strategy to compete was primarily based on price. The Color TV Game 6 at 9,800 yen was significantly cheaper than many of its rivals. This affordability made it an attractive option for families wanting to try home video games without spending a lot of money. This pricing strategy proved effective, helping the CTG-G6 sell hundreds of thousands of units. The quick follow-up with the Color TV Game 15 offering more games and better controllers for a slightly higher price also represented good value. This allowed Nintendo to gain a strong foothold in the Japanese market fairly quickly. However, the competitive landscape changed dramatically very soon. Just a few months after the launch of Nintendo's Color TV Game 15, a new and powerful competitor arrived from America, the Atari Video Computer System, later known as the Atari 2600. The Atari 2600 was a game changer because it used interchangeable game cartridges. This meant players could buy new games separately and play a wide variety on a single console. Nintendo's Color TV game systems, with their built-in games, suddenly looked limited in comparison to this new technology. This presented a significant challenge for Nintendo's existing strategy. Nintendo's immediate response to the Atari 2600 was not to release a cartridge-based system of their own right away. Instead, they continued with their dedicated console strategy for a while longer. They tried to differentiate their products by offering unique experiences. The Color TV game Racing 112 with its steering wheel and the computer TV game with its arcade-perfect Othello were examples of this. They focused on specialized hardware for specific game types. This was a way to offer something different rather than competing directly on Atari's terms with a cartridge system in those early years of evolving technology. Section 8. Laying the Foundation, Innovations and Lessons Learned. The Color TV game series was much more than just a collection of early products for Nintendo. It served as a crucial learning period for the company. This era was a testing ground for many ideas and innovations. These experiences directly shaped Nintendo's future approach to console design and game development. Even though the consoles themselves were relatively simple by today's standards, the lessons learned during their creation were invaluable. Nintendo was building its expertise step by step, console by console, during these formative years in the late 1970s, preparing for bigger things. One key area of learning was hardware design. With each new Color TV game model, Nintendo experimented with different physical forms and control schemes. The built-in knobs of the CTG-6 gave way to the detachable wired controllers of the CTG-15. This was a significant improvement in player comfort and a design choice that would reappear in the Famicom. The specialized controls of the Racing 112, like the steering wheel, showed a willingness to create hardware tailored to specific gameplay experiences. Even the bulky design of the computer TV game influenced future aesthetics and showed an evolving design philosophy. Nintendo also gained vital experience in game development, even if many early games were clones. They learned how to create variations on a theme, as seen with the 15 versions of Pong or the 112 variations in Racing 112. This taught them about game balance, difficulty progression, and keeping players engaged. The Color TV game block Kazushi showed an early ability to take an existing concept and add creative twists. Furthermore, the technical achievement of an arcade-perfect port with computer TV game demonstrated a commitment to quality that would become a Nintendo hallmark, setting high standards for their software. The experience gained from the Color TV game series also had a direct impact on other Nintendo ventures. For example, the knowledge acquired in designing simple, engaging electronic games was applied to the creation of the highly successful Game & Watch handheld series. These handhelds, launched in 1980, featured simple LCD games and were a huge hit worldwide. The Color TV game era taught Nintendo about manufacturing, marketing, and distributing electronic entertainment products. These lessons were essential for their later, much larger successes with the Famicom and NES, providing a solid business foundation. Section 9. The enduring legacy paving the way for global domination. Although the color TV game consoles were sold exclusively in Japan and are largely forgotten by the wider world, their legacy is incredibly important. These early machines represent Nintendo's first tentative steps into the world of video game hardware manufacturing. They were the foundation upon which Nintendo's future empire was built. Without the experiences, successes, and even the limitations of the color TV game series, the Nintendo we know today might look very different. These humble beginnings played a critical role in shaping the company's destiny in the interactive entertainment industry, setting a clear path forward. The color TV game series successfully launched Nintendo's career as a console manufacturer. It gave them the confidence and the capital to pursue more ambitious projects. The sales of over 1 million units for the color TV game 15, for instance, were a significant financial boost. This success helped fund the research and development for future hardware, including the groundbreaking Famicom, also known as the Nintendo Entertainment System. The lessons learned about what players wanted in home entertainment, the importance of good controls, and the appeal of arcade-like experiences were all carried forward into these later, more famous systems. Even though these early consoles often relied on cloning popular arcade games like Pong, Breakout, and Speed Race, they are still considered among the most important systems in gaming history. This is because they firmly established Nintendo within the Japanese console market. They allowed Nintendo to build a brand identity associated with fun and accessible electronic games. The company also began to cultivate talent during this period, with individuals like Shigeru Miyamoto starting their journeys at Nintendo. These consoles were the training wheels that helped Nintendo learn to ride in the fast-paced world of video games. In conclusion, Nintendo's forgotten color TV game consoles are a vital chapter in the company's rich history. They tell a story of learning, adaptation, and early innovation. From the simple orange box of the color TV Game 6 to the arcade-perfect port of the computer TV game, each system contributed to Nintendo's evolution. These consoles laid the essential groundwork, providing the skills, resources, and market presence needed for Nintendo to eventually achieve global domination with iconic systems like the NES, Super Nintendo, and many more. They are a testament to Nintendo's long and fascinating journey in the world of video games.